Hi everyone, this is Dango. In this video, we are going to talk about how to use and how to build Florentia in Langrisser mobile. So at the beginning, I'm also going to talk about whether you should summon her or not. So if you're a whale in this game, you get equal of light skins. The first reason is going to be this, right? This is just hard to resist. So yeah, of course, if you are going to spend to get equal of light, this is one of the equal of light you really want to get. And the other reason includes that she is going to unlock the attack bond for Hilda. So Hilda is going to be the second faction buffer for Langrisser 10C faction. Ares really don't call faction buff in either PvE or PvP. So if you plan to use Langrisser 10C faction a lot for your PvE content, then you definitely want Florentia at least for one copy to unlock her bond as well. And the Langrisser 10C faction is going to be pretty OP in Season 6. Including, you are going to use like Hilda in your box, so then Florentia is going to be a decent option for you as well. So this is another reason to summon her. But for Season 5 Apex Arena, like Florentia is only going to be Whale's choice. So wielding for Florentia is going to be very significant difference compared to like lower stars. 6-star Florentia is much better than 5-star, 4-star, or 3-star Florentia. Just because these characters give you like tokens at the beginning, depending on your star. So at 3-star you have 2 tokens, at 4-star you have 3, 5-star you have 4, and 6-star you have 5. And for those tokens, it's going to trigger her special talent, which is going to allow her to use another set of scale. So yeah, this is like a new mechanism in Langrisser mobile. So after you cast the normal scale, she can like act again, although you cannot move, but you can act again and use another special set of scale. And those scale can either increase the mobility of other units, or makes their troop to heal and regenerate, or just make other units to act again, which is going to cost 5 token. So yeah, if you start the game with 5 token, it means that you can act again other characters starting from round 1. And it's actually not that easy to get tokens for Florentia. So unless you have another faction buffers to call faction buff for her, which is pretty hard in Season 5 because not many people is going to use strategy faction, and probably you only have Ares available to call faction buff for her for the 10C faction, and people are not going to call faction buff with Ares. So it's pretty hard to get a faction buff, which means if your Florentia does not have any faction buffer, and if you are using a lower star Florentia, then you will have a hard time stacking those tokens. So that makes her a lot less useful compared to a 6-star Florentia, where you have the 5 tokens from the beginning. So this is why Florentia is kind of a whale unit for Season 5. If you can get her to 6-star, a lot of like players, like famous players in the Chinese server, like 100k Bro, they have Florentia at 6-star, and it actually helps them a lot in the playoff match to win games. So that's pretty essential. If you get her to 6-star, then she's pretty good. If you don't get her to 6-star in the playoff, then I actually don't recommend you to use her at all. So this is just for Season 5, but for Season 6, then if you're planning to use the Hilda, and if you want to also include like Leon or Burn or Rizocel in your box, then she's a decent choice still, especially if you are going to kinda rush your opponent. Either the increase in mobility or act again is going to be very helpful. So she sensors with kinda a rush team a lot better, but she is also fun if you are just doing the slow tank push. Okay, so much about her usage in Langrisser mobile, and then we're going to move on to her skills. So usually the scale you're going to bring is her 3C scale. So her 3C scale is going to be like 5 cooldown scale, and this is a aggressive scale that can also heal your unit and also and also remove the debuff for your character. So this 3C skill you're always going to carry, and this is actually a very essential skill for her. If you are using this skill, and then you can also use like act again for your other characters, so this is going to be so you can create a double move for your side if you are like player 2. So that sometimes can be very essential for a match. So 3C skill is something you're definitely going to carry, and also the other skill is a like 2-cost skill, and this is one of her special skill as well. Basically, it's a AOE heal and also remove one debuff, and the troops that she brings is going to have a regeneration effect, but this regeneration is only applies to your character's troop. So it's not super good against AOE, but pretty good against any single target attacks. So yeah, that's the other skill usually you bring. And for the 1-cost skill, usually for a healer you bring this heal skill, but in some case you really need a lot of tokens, you think. And if you are using like Florentia at lower star, so you don't have a lot of tokens at the beginning, there is one like passive skill that when you kill your opponents, you will get 1 token. So this is pretty good skill to use if your Florentia is like in lower star, or if you predict the battle is going to be with a lot of treats, then you're going to have a lot of tokens with that passive skill. So for the gears, I recommend you to use the Clock Enchant, because the 3C skill is actually very strong on her, and you know, this is a skill that you can not only heal and remove debuff for your character, but also you can deal damage and apply debuff to your opponent. So this is a very strong skill, and not to mention it also helps you to get more tokens for Florentia. So it's very strong for the 3C skill, and this is why Clock is actually very valuable for her. On the other hand, if you want to build your Florentia to be more tanky so that she can survive the AoE from Ares, or she can survive some of the assassins that is not using the Judgment Talisman, then you can also build the Full Moon for Florentia. It's not terrible to have Full Moon on Florentia if you want to you know, do the slow tank push thing, so she can be pretty fun with the full moon build as well. So this is basically the enchant recommendations. So the weapons, either the red moon or the blue moon, can be very nice. Red moon is kinda needed if you want to build the full moon, so you can survive better, because red moon provides you the extra health points. For the armor, so you can either use Tenuous Robe, or if you use land use a lot, you can also use the Death Robe to reduce the crit chance. So if you are an STL player and not using land use that much, then Death Robe is not really recommended. But if you use like land use team, and if you want to, you know, like tank the Ares or a lot of assassins, Death Robe is actually pretty good. Then if you use Death Robe, you will do your like enchant, the PvP enchant, with the reduced crit chance as well. So the overall crit chance is going to be reduced significantly. So the headgear, of course, you're going to use Tenuous headgear. If you don't have Tenuous headgear, maybe you can use some of the like you can use this gear to apply the cannot be stunned buff as well. This is pretty good. The other gear, not really recommending that much. You can also use the increased scale gear if you play Omega, but that's just when you are really playing Omega. So for the accessory, so if you're using the clock build, I recommend the Vendor's Rose, just because that can also randomly dispel buff when you are using the 3C scale. If you're building her as the tanky build like Full Moon, then probably you would go with Bracer. If you don't have Bracer, to be honest, Full Moon build isn't super effective. So only build Full Moon if you have Bracer, and just go with Clock if you don't have Bracer. So that's the build for the gear. So for the troop, She really don't have that much of the choice here. So if you're in a flying courtyard and you feel like you have so many characters that cannot fly there, so you have to have someone to fly so you can make positioning a little bit easier. Then you bring the Sky Archer. Otherwise, you probably just bring this tree. This tree saint. So you can dispel one more extra debuff, and you can also heal a little bit more. So this is probably her choice. There isn't really good reason to use other units. So this troop is pretty tanky, but then this is also a holy troop, so you're not going to get enough tankiness against assassins using like Judgment Talisman. So yeah, not really recommending the other troops, but maybe you have to do some tests yourself to see if you really want, like if you're building for the full moon and you really want to survive, probably some testing needs to be done to figure out which is the most tanky troop. Definitely you have to test against Judgment Talisman and without Judgment Talisman. So this is about the troop and the gear selection. Then we're going to show some Florentia in real combat. Okay, so let's check how Florentia used in real action. So this is one of the Season 5 playoff match between Dragon Snake Dance and some player here. So Dragon Snake Dance is a famous player using Impair and Strategy box. You can see Automotor, Boron, and Leon in a box. So all of them can call faction buff for Florentia, and also we have Ares to call faction buff for her as well, but you would never use Ares to call a faction buff. That's not going to work, so yeah, we will see. So here Dragon Snake Dance has a core unit which is Alastral. Alastral with the 3C skill can be very tanky, especially in this map, and also you can receive the faction buff from Automotor. So this Automotor is faction buffing the Alastral. And also Florentia. And remember, Florentia with the faction buff is like very strong compared to Florentia without faction buff. So this match just started. So first the player actually made some mistake here. He's moving everything forward, ignoring Florentia's act again. If you are well with Florentia, you can use basically act again turn 1. As we discussed earlier. So Florentia is also stronger than Diana in a way that she can use a skill before she use act again. So that's very strong. So here Florentia is using AoE first and then act again, Alastral. So this is reducing the difficulty in sniping with Alastral, because you have already basically casted the AoE first. Okay, so Joshua is also dead. Yeah, so we can see this game, like player 1 is making some mistake, but also it's just Florentia, like act again turn 1 is pretty strong. Yeah, and you can use another skill before you use act again. This is why she is better than Diana in this case. And we see it clearly, Dragon Snake Dance picked Florentia over Diana in this match. So and then let's move to game 3, because game 2 she was banned. Game 3, Dragon Snake Dance is also using Florentia, and this Florentia is actually is the carry for this team. I mean, Alastral is pretty strong here as well, but there is no Automotor here to call the faction buff, so there's no faction buff for her. But we have the faction buff from Boron. Oh, there is a faction buff from Freya, so that's fine for Alastral. Yeah. So this game is a little bit long, but the combo between Florentia and Boron is very good. Just because Boron can call faction buff for Florentia, and also Florentia can increase the mobility of Boron. Boron's sword dance is actually pretty strong, right? You have heal block, you have fixed damage. The only problem is Boron's mobility sucks. But with Florentia, you can not only act again your character, but you can also increase their mobility. So that just makes Boron very mobile in the battlefield. So the threatening range with like sword dance is also very strong. So we can see here, yeah, this Boron just have like 6 mobility. Yeah, you're turning a short leg character to a decent leg character. So yeah, it's pretty good. And of course, this match in the end, like here, this is like 3 versus 4, but Florentia has this strong AoE skill, and also with the token, you can make your troops very strong for Freya, and that's not something Landius and Joshua can deal with. So that's a win for Dragon Snake Dance in the end. Okay, so this is Florentia in real action. Pretty strong, especially if you run an Empire and Strategy focused box. So Empire and Strategy box is not that strong in this season, but the Empire faction is going to be much stronger in Season 6. Although the Strategy faction is still, if you don't use Strategy faction, then you don't use it. So that's all about this real action.